Something very strange is happening. It's almost like we're regressing back to 2016.
Overwatch.
Hello, everyone. We are very excited to bring you an announcement today.
Donald Trump wins the presidency.
I'll have two number 9.
Here comes that bullshit water.
Online, reaction to Harambe's death was swift and immediate.
What you're seeing is advanced warfare.
Donald Trump is president again. Mudeng is basically the new Harambe. FaZe Clan are dominating right now, except maybe in their stock prices.
The money, Skylar. Where is the rest?
And on top of this, despite it being nearly a decade, Doge is still incredibly relevant. Mostly because it's found its way into the American government, thanks, of course, to Elon Musk, which, by the way, is the acronym for the Department of Government Efficiency. Again, the UK is one of the worst countries to ever exist, but I'm gladly reminded every day that I'm not actually American. And also an honorable mention to everyone's dopamine receptors being burnt out because, unfortunately, compared to 2016, we are now so fixated on short-form content that we're basically having a record diagnosis of attention deficit disorders.
And what do you think is going on in this one, Anthony?
Maybe he's watching.
Okay.
And you know what all of this has reminded me of? There was a better time. The year is 2014, the time of memes and the original brain rot. And speaking of 2014, recently a game came out called 420 Blaze It 2 Game of the Year.
What?
Now this is a sequel to a game that came out in 2014 and is a huge blast from the past. That or the developer basically went into a coma for 8 years and he only just woke up to realize the troll face actually isn't as popular.
Police are requesting that resident orderly fashion.
crap.
We're told
I've
bans
been
have been
out
issued.
this whole
Just that
time?
ominous.
Oh wait, it is because of TikTok brain rot. Now, I do realize that I don't make content like this on the main channel anymore, and I haven't for a fair amount of years. I only really do, you know, super long-form game reviews where the protagonist has an existential crisis and severe PTSD, and the entire premise is all in their head. So what I wanted to do in this video is combine two things. I do want to go over this 420 Blaze It Game of the Year, but I also want to do a retrospective on if older YouTube was actually better. You know, because a lot of people look at it through rose-tinted glasses. It's like, oh, it was so much better in my time. We had Migusta and socially awkward penguin. And now what are the current memes? Hawk Tour. Hawk. Apparently as well, by the way, Haley Welch, who did the Hawk Tour bit, she's apparently a time traveler because recently I found out 16 years ago there was a YouTube video uploaded called Hawk Tour. And I went through the analytics. The title of the video was never actually changed.
Damn it.
But you know what has changed? This amazing new merch that is now available on Pyrocynical.store. It also includes this totally dope beanie. I can't see anything. I really need a haircut.
No shit.
But look at this beanie. It's so cool. We've also got the jumper as well. It's all limited edition Christmas merch. Once it's gone, it is gone. Also, like, by the way, I probably should have thrown in a joke here that, like, 2016 Pyro merch was just Japanese text and it was all, like, ran through Google Translate, so it was wrong anyway. Every YouTuber did that. I'm really not sure who started it, but they should be put to sleep forever. So even outside of a historical context, the saying that history repeats itself, especially on YouTube,
Goddamn right.
is very, very true. There have been so many trends that obviously just repeat themselves. Skibbity toilet, for example. That is something that like every 12-year-old is just obsessed with right now. Despite the fact that me laughing at it going, oh, that's so cringe. How could you like that? I was growing up when I was 12. I was probably watching, you know, YouTube poops, the Gmod Idiot Box by Das Bullshit. Now, you can also be Mark Twain-pilled, which is someone you will reference if you want to sound intelligent in an argument, which is history doesn't repeat itself, it just rhymes with it.
Boom, I just dropped some satire on your ass, General.
But before glossing over the happier times of my life, This video is brought to you by Game of Thrones Legends. You can assemble a team of champions with iconic characters like Jon Snow and Rhaenyra Targaryen. I would say Jon and Daenerys, but again, we know exactly how that ended. One thing I personally like about this game is how they got the likeness of pretty much all the characters, because I'm sure we've all been there when we've had an actor from a TV series or a film, and then they have a video game counterpart and it looks nothing like them. You can engage in dynamic puzzle RPG battles, charge your champion's special abilities to set up amazing combos. You can also form alliances with other players and explore most of Westeros. That's all the way from the icy north, all the way to the fiery south. I was going to do a joke that it's too hot, but I live in the UK where the average mean temperature is like 5 degrees Celsius. You can unleash special abilities and weapons. Strategically pair characters with deadly weapons to do insane damage. A good example is Arya Stark with Needle, the little sword that she had for like most of the show. Now, I'm giving you a one-time offer to secure your legacy. Download Game of Thrones Legends in the link down in the description or the QR code on screen, and you will be rewarded with 50 gold, 3,000 food, and a daily summon token to start your journey. And thank you again to Game of Thrones Legends for sponsoring this video. Now, one thing I have definitely noticed in my crippling old age of 27 years on this planet, you know, I'm told by family members, friends, 27 isn't even that old. But then I remember that TikTok exists and the average commenter of an age is 7 years old. But in my grand wisdom of old age, I've noticed one thing. The older we get, the more we look at the past. Different aspects of culture do rhyme with previous iterations, and I feel as you get older, unfortunately, you do tend to look back in the past with more and more nostalgia, more of those rose-tinted glasses.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
I cannot tell you the amount of times that I have thought of like a YouTube video or a film or a video game that I watched or played as a kid. I go and revisit it as an adult thinking this is where all my enjoyment came from. And I look at it and think, how the hell did I ever find this entertaining? This sucks. I do want to make two exceptions there. Tomb Raider on the PS1 and also Spyro the Dragon. They are cracked. And please, I don't want to hear you in the comment section crying how Crash Bandicoot is a better game. That game is made for stupid people because you only walk left and right or up and down. I definitely think overall at the minute there is a huge obsession with nostalgia. I mean, again, like I'm 27, I'm old. And then I scroll through my Instagram Reels or my TikTok or even my YouTube Shorts. Jesus, for the 7 people that actually use that. And I will see consistently over and over people complaining that they're like 17 now and they've wasted their whole life. Shut up. I mean, to be fair, I would say shut up, but I remember doing the exact same thing at 17. Just to anyone that's watching this that's quite young, just so you know, that feeling that you're wasting your life until you like win the lottery or something, it's probably gonna keep chasing you forever. So please try to make peace with it if you can. I actually remember doing something very cringe-inducing when I was younger. What I would do is like look up famous people and then I would compare their age to my age and realize that I've got like 4 to 5 years to basically become a trillionaire or it's all over for me. That is very bad thinking. Please do not do that. And I think that's why now, currently, the biggest trend to follow if you want to grow any social media account is relatable humor. Oh, I'm less sad. I am le bed rotting, less scrolling on le phone. Everyone agrees with you because everyone has probably been there at some point, but they don't actually want to admit it. And I feel this constant cycle of like reminiscing is the reason why so many memes have actually stood the test of time. The troll face, for example, is still like semi-sarcastically used today. Among Us, that's still used today in very niche circles, probably completely ironically. But then obviously you have memes that couldn't stand the test of time, like Success Kid, Socially Awkward Penguin. What's that one? What's that one of the guy and he's got like a mustache and he's like evil or something? Like Le Evil Man, we'll call him that. Now, most people would say this is the most brain-rotted generation yet. I actually disagree because the traces of this humor can actually be found all the way back in the early internet. And honestly, a very good example of that is early 2014 YouTube content, which is pretty much when I started to do YouTube. If you don't know what kind of content was made back in 2014, why do you think the backdrop behind me looks like a Tesco corner shop? Wait, actually, no, the majority of my audience are American. Walmart. yes, that's all I got.
Madagascar, now playing in theaters.
But yeah, to say that content back then was any better, you are flat out lying. It is absolutely terrifying to think that back then, that was peak YouTube. All right, we're doing a main channel video, so I'm going to do a Breaking Bad reference. If anything, this reminds me of the conversation that Saul Goodman had with Walter White in the final episode of Better Call Saul.
You'd have been the last
Brain rot.
I'd have gone to.
Yeah. Now, I definitely do want to agree, the current meta is so attention deficit with short form content and trying to grab everyone's attention when you're scrolling through 1,000 short videos a day. But at the same time, this isn't really much better. If you look at the majority of these like MLG montage parody videos, most of them are really just a couple of minutes long because they were so intense in the editing. But there definitely was this kind of like over-edited ironic humor that was spread around the internet at the time. It wasn't just, you know, montage parodies. It was YouTube poops, SFM, if you didn't know, Source Filmmaker, which is still an industry right now and is going very strong today. That is basically Valve's in-house engine that they use to animate films. Like, for example, the Team Fortress 2, Meet the Player characters, Meet the Pyro, Meet the Spy. Valve basically let the public use that, and because of that, to this day, people are still making Source Filmmaker content, which is insane. Now, one thing I did, I took a little trip down memory lane, and I actually looked at the montage parody subreddit. This is a subreddit that I grew up on. This is where all the big montage parody creators actually originated from. Hosts back then would get thousands of updates, and now it's a ghost town. Actually, if you go on the subreddit right now, the only thing you can see is this guy who, like, I think he's basically posted on the wrong subreddit because he's just posting really mid COD gameplay.
Sorry, Fred, sorry. What?
The progression from old YouTube to now is a lot straighter than you'd actually think. Now, I have established what was funny back then in the earlier days of YouTube, and a lot of people will use nostalgia bait as basically a cope to say, well, what you find funny now in current generation is absolute garbage. Meanwhile, we had actual peak. I mean, a good example is the Fuck Boom. I mean, he gets attacked a lot. He gets a lot of criticism, and Skibbity Toilet, I can't believe I'm making a video defending Skibbity Toilet. Oh my god. But Skibbity Toilet basically became so successful, it was the cool thing to hate on. And it's not like the guy used like crazy high-tech tools to make it happen. It really was just a SFM machinima. And even though I'm not really like an avid consumer of Skibbity Toilet content, very surprising, I know, the humor that he uses with the exaggerated faces and the bulging eyes, that was the exact same stuff that I grew up watching when people were doing these like Gmod funny moments. You know, you had Das Bullshit with the Gmod Idiot Box, you had Icton with the Idiots of Gary's Mod, and it really goes to show that that kind of humor is never going away because at the minute, Skibbity Toilet, well, the channel, The Fuck Boom, has over 17 billion views. Is that more than Gangnam Style? Can someone confirm that if that's more? Okay. But I do feel that this kind of humor is becoming more and more popular as more people get access to the internet. I mean, look at the early channels that did similar content. You had Dolan Dark, Mountain Dew, Vic Burger, Anonymous. These are people that did very high quality complex edits, especially for the time. But if you combine all of their channel views together, you only get around 500 million views. The entire point I'm trying to make here is Dolan Dark fell off. Please stop copying me on your slop channel.
Time for another episode of the Weekly Slop, where we look at the last 1 or 2 weeks of Pyro Live content and summarize it.
The real point I'm trying to make here is all of their combined channel views is only around 3% of what the Fuck Boom has on his singular channel. Now, obviously, again, there's loads of different variables here. There's way more people getting access to the internet at an incredibly young age. Again, I've always had like a game theory about this. This is why like retention is becoming so horrendous at the minute, and everyone is basically self-diagnosing themselves with ADHD without getting, you know, any kind of like proper assessment done. I mean, me personally, I'm getting myself assessed at the minute. I don't have the results back yet, but I can probably tell with like 99% accuracy, I'm absolutely cooked.
To be fair, I hide behind the picture of a fuck, so I'm just as bad, but still, shut the fuck up.
But again, I think that's a cultural thing because of how short form content is just consuming everyone. There's a Twitch streamer called Healthy Gamer or Healthy Gamers, and he actually did like a very good study showing how culturally we're all going to become attention deficit because the way content is becoming more and more shorthand.
Sesame Street gives you a story over 30 minutes. So my attention span was 30 minutes. But now if you look at things like apps, what we notice is that first there were blogs, and in order to engage with blogs, you had to read 3 pages. And that has now turned into Twitter, 160 characters. We started with YouTube, right, where people used to make 20-minute videos, 30-minute videos. Now we have TikTok, which is like 60 seconds or less.
And that's one of the reasons, especially, why the fuck boom became so popular, because not only taking advantage of YouTube, like normal videos, but also the fact that he uploads many shorts as well. And most of the people do end up watching the shorts. And I can definitely imagine in the comments there will be many people critical of Skibidi Toilet. You know, if Skibidi Toilet had an entry on Letterboxd, I'm sure you'd give it 1 star and you'd write 20 paragraphs that no one apart from your mate on Discord is going to read. But it's undeniable that that series and that creator has made a huge social impact on kids. I mean, again, it's obvious. There are so many examples of like these videos on Twitter of like kids running around school just like shouting Skibidi Toilet. I'm sure you've seen that video of the child that I think is getting like a vaccine or something, and he starts using Skibidi Toilet as some kind of like therapy for himself. And that's one of the reasons why it's so popular, because it's reached out to so many young people. I mean, good examples of like older content, like for example, the MLG edits that I came from. Bullseye. Source Filmmaker. YouTube Poops.
Shit, I'm going to die.
They were kind of limited to a group of people that were kind of terminally online and had to know enough knowledge to get it. I mean, out of those three, I think Source Filmmaker had the most success because Team Fortress 2 is one of the most popular games on Steam. I'd like to point out that was especially so after it went free to play and all the pores started flooding the game. Disgusting vermin. I'm getting Doritos on my mouse. Companies are definitely aware of how many children are accessing the internet at an early age as well. That's why you've seen the adaptation of such things like the YouTube Kids app. I remember when I was growing up at school, the cool thing to do to be like extra edgy was basically to go around and tell everyone this like gory video that you saw online, or 2 girls 1 cup. But now the internet is becoming more regulated and these companies realize that they can make a lot more money off these young people at a much earlier age. This entire video is going to come across as old head cope, right? I get it, like I'm old, I'm 27. But back in my day, kids usually around school would carry like Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But the point I'm trying to make is everyone had their collective different groups, and they might still do to this day, but probably not, because most people now at a young age are getting a smartphone. And also, Skibidi Toilet is in Target. They are doing Skibidi Toilet official merch in Target.
We just need money.
It is crazy for me to think back then when I was doing videos like MLG GTA 5, which, by the way, is a hilarious video. It's definitely aged very well. That was a single video talking about a game that I liked, but now everything is franchised, right? Like, if Skibidi Toilet comes out, even though that uses pretty much all the material from Valve's intellectual property, that is still incredibly monetizable. The point I'm trying to make is expansion is a bigger thing than ever right now. So if an MLG video, like, you know, MLG GTA 5, if that came out in current year, I wouldn't just upload the video, I would then be making merch around it. I'd probably have a U2's collab, like every YouTuber on the earth does. Or you could do what MatPat did and go against U2's and have tube buddies. That is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. I would not like to have that thing stare at me at 3 in the morning in the dark.
All the wickedness that mankind can produce.
I'd also like to point out as well, this was a very common thing back then, but it's even worse now. Content theft, right? Now, I'm not going to talk about plagiarism or anything like that, because you can go watch the H-Bomber Guy video on that. But I'm talking more about people that will directly steal your content. Not inspired or copying. I mean, they will literally right-click, save the video, and then just re-upload it onto their page.
First thing I do is go and search for popular YouTubers to screen record. After watching their video for a minute or two, I end the screen recording and crop the video so that it fits the screen.
A non-believer in our midst.
That was a thing back then, and it was pretty bad. I mean, usually what people would do is add like a watermark and then you're done, sorted. But nowadays what happens is people are now using AI and other software to erase the watermark, and then they'll probably stick a stake ad on it, because of course they will. Apart from direct content theft, there's also like merchandise theft as well. I mean, you've got companies like Redbubble that will basically just allow anyone to upload any kind of content they want and then sell it as a shirt for basically pennies in profit. I mean, even back in my day, you know, when I was doing like MLG videos or like starting out doing commentary videos for the first time, that was a huge problem there as well. You would have people that would draw fan art for me, like just, you know, I like this YouTuber, I enjoy their content, maybe I draw like a picture of them. And then what people would do is steal that fan art and then upload it onto Redbubble and try to sell it off as like official merch, because I didn't actually have merch set up at the time, or consistently anyway. And even with the fuck boom, there is so much Skibidi Toilet merch out there that is not official, not licensed. I even saw Skibidi Toilet merch at one point that used my TV head character, by the way. So technically, I guess, I am now canon in the Skibidi Toilet universe. Now, you may have noticed that everyone nowadays likes to throw up the words slop and brain rot. I mean, at the minute, it's actually a contender for word of the year in the Oxford Dictionary. By the way, I do want to say slop has become a universal word. I am claiming that word. I invented it because there's a video calling me out, and the guy literally says in said video that the first instance that he could find of it being said was from me.
Many believe that the term slop originated from him to begin with. I personally first heard it thrown around on an episode of his podcast.
I like to imagine it is an actual trough of slop and just the little piggies running up to the trough. Unfortunately, as much as we want to fight it, there is one thing that motivates most people in the world more than anything else, and that is money. That's why there's been an epidemic of faceless channels and people that are basically bragging that they're making all this money. I mean, one good example was Curtis Connor when he actually made a video talking about faceless channels, and he mentions that there was a video talking about Elon Musk buying a house that he didn't even buy. The video was sat on around 4.5 million views, and he made about 40 grand off it. And then, of course, like every other faceless entity, starts to sell you a course on how to be successful like him. So unfortunately, in that regard, I think slop has definitely got a lot worse in the recent years compared to 2016, because again, YouTube is much more saturated. You ask the average kid in school in Europe or in America what they want to do, they want to be some kind of influencer.
The research, the Typhon, nothing can survive.
It literally is the dream job to have. But unfortunately, because of its accessibility, there are a lot of very malicious actors. People that don't really care about wasting your time, they just want to increase profit margins. I know this is ironic coming from me because the video before this was literally short of 10 hours long. I understand that. I think as well, unfortunately, content creators are some of the most addicted people to their devices and to social media apps, because for the most part, it is their job. And I've seen countless YouTubers that have basically just said on camera, yeah, I uninstalled this app or I uninstalled that app, and we've all seen the hilarious thing where a YouTuber tweets out saying they're gonna have a break from social media, guys. I need to detox. And then less than 24 hours they're back, and in that span of time, they weren't tweeting, but they were probably just liking tweets instead, so they never really left. For me, what helped regulate myself with social media is to treat myself like a toddler that has no self-control, because I really don't. I mean, I've got a good example here, right? So this is my phone, and then if I try to open TikTok, it comes up with a customized message that you can write yourself, and it will basically play this really long loading screen that is just like so tedious and annoying, because what most people do, they will close a social media app and then like out of like muscle memory or like stimming, they'll basically reopen it again. Mostly for people that have no self-control whatsoever, so me. But I am definitely agreeing with the theory that time is a flat circle. I mean, brain rot is basically just cringe. It is the word cringe that has been changed. It's been transformed because the word cringe was just so inherently saturated. Again, I remember doing like, you know, commentary videos in the Leafy is Here era, and the word cringe was just this textbook way to get clicks, to get people to watch your videos. Because if something's cringe, it's like, oh, that's the worst thing in the world. Oh my god. Oh, I feel like I want to die. But then cringe became dead and buried because it was saturated so much. This is a thing, by the way, you will see time and time again with YouTube. There will be something that gets views, and then everyone will clamor to that to try to get views themselves. I mean, at the minute, the current meta for like drama slop videos, which I do on the second channel, is the X situation is insane or crazy. And I've said this multiple times on streams and on second channel videos, but the reason why that became popular is because of Critical Charlie. He basically is the single biggest commentary channel on the entire platform, at least English speaking. So when you have someone that's successful start to use a title like that, everyone thinks that they can get views as well. That's exactly what I thought. I also think we're going to go through a weird transitionary phase now, because every generation will make fun of the previous generation because they're old and out of touch. You know, it's laugh out loud hilarious because, oh, you're so old and like you don't know how to use a phone. Like, it started recording a second ago, bro. And at the minute, Gen Z is the dominant species. I'm 27, which makes me basically 6 months within Gen Z. If I was any older, I would be a millennial, so whew, dodge that bullet. But the up-and-coming generation after that, the ones that are growing up on Fortnite and Skibbity Toilet, are Gen Alpha. And Gen Alpha will do the exact same thing, because unfortunately, like most of you that are watching this probably are Gen Z, we're going to be millennials soon. We're going to go into that category. And then the millennials are going to become like, I don't know what's worse than that, the baby boomers. Now, I do feel a lot of people look at things with rose-tinted glasses, like I mentioned before, but I really, really want to talk about one of the first big events on YouTube that started this like kind of like brain rot trend and like loud equals funny. And that is, of course, YouTube poops.
Hey, Luigi.
Lots of spaghetti.
Because YouTube is where the poop is.
Now, surprisingly, this fast-paced attention deficit editing that's currently the meta, it wasn't started by Gen Alpha, not even really Gen Z. It wasn't even the various TikTok trends. It wasn't even as old as Vine. But, surprisingly, early 2000s YouTube. I do want to say, by the way, just look at that homepage for old YouTube. Oh my god. Do you remember, like, rate out of 5 stars? There was no thumbs up or thumbs down. You rated a video out of 5 stars. Now, YouTube poops were very weird because it was comedic, nostalgic, hyperactive.
You will grow up to be
Toasters and spaghetti.
just like
Luigi.
And it was basically a visual rendition of something back then called remix culture. And this was basically an extension of repurposing culture that we consume and then making it into something else apart from just the original version. This is still a very current thing, and even before the 2000s as well, you've had sampling in like rap and hip-hop music. Even today, there are music mashups. I mean, some of the best music, this is going to be so cringe to admit, some of the best music that I have listened to personally are TikTok mashups where they get like 2 songs that together sound really good. There's this one that goes really hard. It's this TikTok mashup of like Resonance by the artist Home and some other music as well. And there's this woman, she goes, my heart. I mean, remix culture was huge back then and it still is today. Photoshopping, for example, that's still like a huge thing. But yeah, essentially the format for a YouTube poop was to take a pre-existing video game, show, or a film and then editing it in the most loud, obnoxious, violent way possible.
Toasted.
The entire premise of making a YouTube poop was basically to take media, distort it as much as possible, probably even disfiguring the actual storytelling of that media. And this is like real old head stuff, right? Like most of the people that made this stuff, they were using like Windows Movie Maker. I mean, I'm going to do something brave here. I'm going to use a buzzword. This was a very good example of Dadaism, which is basically an art movement that was anti-establishment because, again, like you're taking media and you're completely deconstructing it. No one that watched a YouTube poop could probably tell the actual original plot of what the video was before the YouTube poop person got their hands on it. The word Dada in Dadaism means a multitude of things. In French, it means hobby horse. In German, it means a form of foolish joy, which, to be fair, most people that watch YouTube poops were definitely getting a huge belly laugh. It just equals a bunch of nonsense, which is, again, exactly what a YouTube poop is. Guys, look at that. Look, it's Mario and Luigi CDI on the Philips CDI, the worst console known to man. And he's repeating the same line over and over. That is, oh my god, I'm dying.
If you need a gay Luigi, how to get through gay Luigi, check out the enclosed gay Luigi.
Now, early renditions of YouTube poops would usually use the same kind of media, again, because one person would probably take footage, upload it, turn it into a YouTube poop, that would get loads of views, and then everyone else wanted in on those views. It is a tale as old as time. But after this became more widespread, there were even more popular franchises used, like for example, SpongeBob, Pokemon, King of the Hill. Anything from the late 90s to early 2000s was turned into a YouTube poop. Now, this rabbit hole does go incredibly deep, too deep for this video, but it also splintered off into many abstract versions, like for example, YouTube Poop News. There was a spin-off called ScareTube as well. The oldest YouTube poop that could ever be found on record was actually all the way back in 2004, which is probably older than most of the people watching this video. This was uploaded by Super Yoshi, and he made a video called The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3 Remixed. And if you are wondering, yes, this YouTube poop, despite it being a YouTube poop, technically, was actually uploaded before YouTube itself existed as a website. So you're probably wondering, if a YouTube poop wasn't uploaded to YouTube, where was it uploaded? DeviantArt. Of course it was DeviantArt. Oh wait, no it wasn't. It was actually uploaded to a competitor of DeviantArt called Sheezy Art. I just checked the website, it's still going. To be fair, I'm not surprised really, because DeviantArt nowadays is just 90% AI posts. But just because it was patient zero doesn't mean it was the most popular one. There were many other famous examples, like What is Spaghetti, Gay Luigi, which is... It's honestly one of the most unfunniest clips imaginable.
Nice of the princess to invite us over for a picnic, eh, Luigi?
Now, I'm not sure about you, but when I was 12 years old, the word gay was absolutely hilarious. It kind of still is now. There's this one image, I spam people on Discord sometimes, and it's a child throwing rocks at a poorly drawn elephant, just saying, gay. However, though, like many good things, they must come to an end, and YouTube poops did eventually fizzle out. Don't get me wrong, they still exist today. They are still uploaded today, but they have nowhere near the popularity of what they did 10 to 12 years ago. Now, this is my upbringing. Everything I know and love, and the first thing I did when I came onto YouTube, and that is montage parodies. So after YouTube poops kind of tapered out a bit, it eventually transformed, in a way, into montage parodies. Again, life is Roblox. But for me, life is Minecraft, because that game will die every 7 years and then it just comes back again. A good example, Yogscast. The game was incredibly popular, then the game fell off, and then lockdown happened. And then every single child with a pronoun started watching Tommy in it. I'm not throwing any shade at Tommy, by the way. I've never seen anyone that has stanned a Minecraft YouTuber that does not have pronouns in their bio. But after YouTube poops, there were a lot of people around on the internet that had a cracked version of Sony Vegas. I mean, okay, I'm going to be honest here. Most YouTubers that you watch, they probably pirate their editing software. I'm not going to admit that to you on camera, because then I would probably be fined or go to jail. But what I'm going to do instead is snitch on KSI, because if you look, when he used Vegas in his videos, he had the Russian watermark on it. The realm of montage parodies had many hilarious memes, like lolcats, trollface, rickrolling. Classic memes. There was a personal meme that my science teacher at school was showing us, which is laugh out loud hilarious. It's called Chemistry Cat, with such great captions like, Chemistry Cat does it all on the table. What do you get when you cut an avocado into 6 times 10 by 20? I'm not reading that. Sodium, 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 sodium. I honestly can't even tell if like that was a meme made 2 weeks ago, like, on like 7 layers of irony, or that was an actual Chemistry Cat bit. But yeah, these memes, they were incredibly popular, to the point that when something becomes too popular, people don't like that anymore, and then the irony slips in, people mocking it. And that's where MLG montage parodies came from. It was this like post-ironic attitude towards very popular memes. If you don't know what MLG means, by the way, it's an acronym for Major League Gaming. I would say 2016 to 2017 were the peak of MLG content. You had compilations, you had remixes, you had these insane high-quality montage parodies. At its core, montage parodies, for the most part, especially originally, were very shallow. I already talked about earlier on in the video how they worked, all the things you needed, you know, Illuminati confirmed, an air horn. But that's the reason why it became so popular, because it was incredibly simple to replicate. Again, if you look at my earliest montage parody videos, they are garbage. They're awful. Like, even for like an 18-year-old, like that is subpar editing. Another reason it became so popular is because it was piggybacking off already existing montages, like quickscope montages, no-scope montages. And also back then, the whole MLG org, Optic phase that I used, ironically, all of their logos in my MLG Teletubbies video. So essentially, it was piggybacking off an already incredibly popular brand. But then montage parodies shifted. The focus wasn't on the gameplay anymore. They were almost telling their own stories. And that's why montage parodies became so popular, because again, you'd probably see them at a young age, you talk about them to your friends at school, and it really did devolve into loud equals funny humor. Regardless, I mean, there's a juxtaposition of Doritos, Mountain Dew, which, you know, I've got both of those here, pixel, hit markers, sunglasses, extreme dubstep, distortion, poorly chroma keyed explosions, sample text. Now, I do want to say montage parodies did start off very basic. I feel that with my progression, I would just call it a flat line. I wouldn't even call it a curve. And even even though my montage parodies weren't very good, there were some incredibly talented creators, like for example Senpai Kush. He made some insanely detailed montage parody videos. Like some of this stuff now, if you go back and watch it, even though it's basically 10 years old, it still holds up today. His editing style was incredible. Unfortunately, he is one of those creators that stopped uploading, mostly because he probably just thought it just wasn't really worth the hassle and basically being paid pennies because the videos weren't long enough, and also the whole situation with copyrighted music, among other things. But then there are other creators that actually managed to climb out that termite mound and still be successful, like for example Dolan Dark, No Fuckers. I mean, even myself, I do feel that my transitions, not that one, not that kind of transition, shut up. Me going through different genres of content has been latching onto whatever's popular. It's also incredibly important as well to not be worried about being a leech. Because I'll be honest, nowadays, most YouTubers that do make it in this current scene with how saturated it is, they are trend chasers. Now, even though montage parodies are dead, you're probably wondering, are there still people making montage parodies? I am not joking, there actually are. So one good example I want to talk about is Cheeky Chaps. Cheeky Chaps is someone that would do various videos like Sid the MLG Kid. This is someone, to this day, who is still uploading MLG videos. I'm actually convinced that he went into a coma for about 9.5 years. He's only woke up recently, and he still thinks it's the year 2016. As I've said multiple times with all of these trends, good things must come to an end. People got bored and they moved on. A lot of people like to make the comparison between old versus new. You know, something that was cherished is now hated. YouTube channels that fell off. I mean, a good example is myself. I have never had widespread success on YouTube. I've always basically been a middle ground YouTuber. But despite that, if I completely fell off the face of the earth, either view-wise or I quit uploading, there would probably be multiple videos saying the downfall of Pyrocynical. But I do want to answer that question though. If something was popular a while ago, can it still be popular now in the same form? A good example is Epic Rap Battles of History. Epic Rap Battles of History was popular because they were very smart about it. They would try to include two people going head to head that the internet was talking about. And I know this sounds like a bit of a cope, but Epic Rap Battles of History is that type of YouTube content that is incredibly consumable. It is something that you could show to family members and not be absolutely cringe-inducing. You know, you could easily sit down with like your parents or grandparents or your friends and watch an Epic Rap Battles of History because it's funny, even like the poorly aged ones in an ironic sense, as opposed to, son, what is that on your computer, son? Is that an Among Us character? Why is it so fat, son? What is wrong with you? But even though that being said, Epic Rap Battles have managed to maintain huge relevancy, there has been some kind of drop-off. Like the 2020 version of the presidential election, that's got 30 million views, and then the 2024 election sits on around 6 million views. And that's not to say that the video is bad or anything like that, but honestly, I feel that there was a lot more hype around Obama, and who was the other one? Was it Biden?
Joe Biden.
But let's look at an older YouTube classic, Good Mythical Morning. They're not hitting the same numbers that they were 10 years ago, but they still have an incredibly consistent and loyal fan base. What seems to happen with a lot of YouTubers, and I'm not saying, you know, this in a negative way, but they expand. They become less YouTubers, more fat. And Good Mythical Morning have now expanded into a media mogul empire within the YouTube space. And that is to help Rhett and Link, the hosts, create more Good Mythical Morning content. One comparison I do want to make right now is Smosh. What they've done now with Smosh is they've basically turned it into a college humor-esque production house. While Good Mythical Morning mostly stayed the same, Smosh is now an entirely different channel to what it was 10 years ago. I mean, a good example is if I go onto Smosh right now and look at their most popular videos, because their most popular videos are usually stuff from around 10 to 12 years ago. Beef and Go, 16 years ago? Oh my god. Assassin's Creed 3 music video, Legend of Zelda rap, Real Death Note, Pokemon in real life, Magic Keyboard, Real Voodoo Doll.
They don't have to buy shampoo. Shut
I will be honest, I am a bit of a fake fan. I never really watched Smosh growing up, but one thing is definitely for certain. Early Smosh was basically Skibbity Toilet for millennials. I know that is like the worst comparison that I've ever made, but it literally is true. Because again, a lot of people will say, I miss the old Smosh. I really don't think you do. Because if they were making those same kind of skits in current year, they'd probably be absolutely cancelled into the high heavens, and people would just be like, wow, they're still doing this? That's so cringe. Cringe! So what Smosh have been forced to do, basically, is to pivot towards the younger generation to get their attention. Because most of the old heads that watched original Smosh, they might have actually moved on to to other content. You'll see that a lot of these YouTubers basically quit, they go into retirement, or they expand their businesses into a larger empire, and they take more of a managerial role because they kind of realize, I'm waking up every day talking in front of the camera. I'm kind of a little bit bored of this. My own personal view, I don't want to sound elitist. I definitely think one of the worst things about current YouTube is it is much harder now to be a content creator than when it was when I got in the door. A lot of people that start YouTube now, they seem to have this almost like, you know, pessimistic, I would say the word cynical, but I can't because it's in my name. They've got this very nihilistic worldview that nothing matters, and the door closed behind them a long time ago. If anything, they sound like they're quoting Tony Soprano in the pilot episode where he talks about basically everything's over, like he got in as soon as everything was coming to an end.
But lately, I'm getting the feeling that I came in at the end. The best is over.
I mean, I mentioned this earlier, but that's exactly what I've done. I've shifted genres of content that I've made multiple times. I started off doing very mid-montage parodies, and then I moved on to doing commentary videos where I was doing faceless gameplay.
The faces that this guy's pulling, each one of them can literally be their own emotion. You've got questioning your own reality face, nut face, and post-nut face, all of which should probably have their own spin-off TV shows.
I've said this and I've been on the record about it. I don't try to hide it. I was copying Leafy is Here because Leafy was someone who would get millions and millions of views of basically just absolutely zero effort content. Like, again, I get it. There are some people to this day that still stand Leafy and fully support him. If you want to do that, go for it. I don't care. But the point is, that was never like mind-blowing content. The reason why I made the transition is because I saw that montage parodies as a genre was dying out, and then someone that was new on the block was putting in about 1% of the effort that the average person would put into editing, and he was getting 100 times the payout. So it was an obvious choice for me. I've said this multiple times, but one thing I do like as well is the fact that I tried to copy Leafy because Leafy was using surf gameplay, which again, I've talked about the theory about time being a flat circle, but surf gameplay, that's still being used today. It's the same as basically Minecraft parkour that you see in those Reddit stories. Am I the asshole for running over my wife?
23M. am about to tell you a totally real and not made up story about how I accidentally ran over my wife, 22F, causing her to take the kids, the house, the dogs, the PS5, my gamer chair and my commission.
The point I'm trying to make is I was so bad at surf that I couldn't even get off like the first ramp, so I basically gave up, and that's when I started playing Prototype, which I will do a main channel video on at some point, I promise. And also on top of that as well, playing Dying Light, because they were fast-paced games, and I assumed at the time, as a young adult, I thought, maybe this could actually keep people's attention because how fast-paced the gameplay is. And then, obviously, yada, 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 jump off the bridge, 250k subs, I get it, all right, dead bit. And I'm not the only person that has made this transition. There are loads of channels that have done this in the past, because I personally think one of the biggest fears of a YouTuber is to get stun-locked into doing a single genre as that genre slowly fades away into nothingness. I mean, a good example is like Fortnite content. Fortnite YouTubers were getting millions of views, and nowadays, apart from like 2 to 3 channels, they don't really get a lot. Also, I really want to know what happened to C-Day, by the way. Does anyone know what happened there? Because the guy just like dipped. He was basically one of the biggest English-speaking YouTubers on the platform, and the guy just dipped. I mean, I hope he's doing all right. There is no reason he should have quit unless there was something serious going on. I mean, another good example there as well, actually, is Corey Kenshin. He's someone that would, if he came back now, he'd probably get a 10 million view video. Where is he? And I think that's a really scary thing as well for creators. Like, if you're taking time off the platform because of like mental health, or something has happened privately that you don't want to speak about, or maybe just general burnout, or you don't enjoy the job anymore, people forget about you really quickly. I will be scrolling on social media like TikTok, Instagram Reels, and I'll see the occasional video or clip of Corey Kenshin, and the top comments will be, I'm almost forgetting about him, which is terrifying because the guy's basically been gone only around a year. But again, with how fast the internet moves now compared to 10 years ago, 1 year is basically a decade. Obviously, I'm not the only channel as well to make transitions from content. You know, you've got Danny Gonzalez, Drew Gooden, Curtis Connor. They all used to be laugh out loud Lamau Vine comedians, and now they're incredibly successful commentary channels.
Road work ahead? Yeah, I sure hope it does.
I do want to say, by the way, if you ever want to grow a channel, I think commentary is one of the best things you can do. There is a reason why it is one of the most saturated markets in the entire world. I mean, a great example I can talk about here is this channel I found the other week called Funky Frog Bit. You know, I watched some of their content. They make great videos, but you will notice at one point when the content goes from being gameplay videos that get like 60k views to criticizing current trends that then get millions of views. I also want to talk about like the mutations of common trends as well. Like, for example, I talked about montage parodies kind of dying out. They are still around. They've just transformed into something else. I mean, you will see these like bizarre funk, mango, those who know, just garbage trends that are so brain rotten out the arse. Unless you're operating on like 7 layers of irony, you won't even crack a smile. But these are originally from montage parodies. I mean, they're even using stuff like the troll face and that. Like, again, nothing on the internet ever really seems to die. It just gets transformed into something else. I mean, one question that I have, because I really don't know the answer to it, is, are we ever going to see a meme again that lasts as long as something like the troll face? Because at the minute, we are having so many memes just blasted into our face. The Costco guys, Hawk Tour Girl. There is so much saturation right now that these people will basically be relevant for a week, and then they will be clawing and screaming to maintain any kind of relevancy they can. I mean, I talked about this on the second channel, the Hawk Tour Girl. She's already basically caved in and released her own crypto coin, which I assume, like most influencers that start their own crypto, she's going to do a rug pull on. I mean, the Hawk Tour Girl might even do a full 180. She might transition like Quinta Brunson. That was someone that made traditional media breakout hits like ABBA Elementary. And even though that is someone who has had mainstream success, she did actually start off on BuzzFeed. Is starting off on BuzzFeed good?
Corgi, BuzzFeed, egg socks.
Whoa, egg socks! That's so random!
Probably not. Now, circulating back to how fast we consume content, because we love to consume. I love to scroll on my phone 7 hours a day. I love to get sponsors for videos. And I love to get business opportunities and messages from my friends, but I put them off just so I can scroll a little bit more, and within 5 minutes, I totally forgot that they even reached out to me. I can't stop consuming! But apart from me projecting, the point I'm trying to make is, have you noticed how quick trends come and go at the minute? I mean, the lifespan a decade or so ago would have been at least a couple of years, but now it just feels like things come and go after a week. Now, there are many game theories behind this. Obviously, the attention deficit culture that we have right now being the main source, but also could this be people twisting a hyperfixation to be translated as a meme on Twitter for a few likes? You know, there are good examples here, like the Dark Souls graphic, "You died," and that then was shifted and transformed into other captions that were used across thousands and thousands of meme templates. I mean, one of my favorite examples going around was a very popular Dark Souls copypaster saying, "You cheated not only the game, but yourself." And that stemmed from people trying to cheese bosses. A good example is bosses that you could basically just knock off the map and get a quick kill. But then, irony, as it always does, like the little parasite it is, always manages to creep in and destroy the meme. So now, the "you cheated not only the game but yourself" is that bad that basically anyone that uses an Estus flask in Dark Souls is achieving a hollow victory. Yeah, if you used an Estus or rested at a bonfire, or if you used your weapon, you didn't beat the game. There's other examples as well, like we actually live in a universe where Cristiano Ronaldo has a podcast with Mr. Beast as a guest, and they make references to 2014 meme culture in current year. That's 10 years later, by the way.
So if you get in a rhythm, I think you can make some killer content. That isn't like
But
too
this
hard
record is for you.
I
don't want to beat that record, honest.
I also want to talk about forcing memes. That has been a thing since old YouTube, and it is still incredibly popular now. A good example is Sexy Red. She's launched her own crypto coin, and she's also asking people to basically turn her into the chill guy meme, because again, that is a very popular meme to latch onto. You latch onto a popular meme, that makes you more relatable, and it gets you more exposure. And again, I'm incredibly guilty of this. If you know what I'm about to reference, by the way, you actually deserve like a Medal of Valor, like some kind of old head award. Please step out of your armchair and give yourself a salute. So back when I was was doing the commentary era after quickly jumping ship from montage parodies, I tried to force this meme called A Small Loan of $1 Million. It was the most unfunny thing imaginable. I would just say it over and over in this fake deep voice that I put on. I have no idea why I did that. I assume at the time I was just very gay and insecure about my own voice. So I just put on like this deep voice to make me sound like, you know, better and more confident, but it had the complete opposite reaction. But yeah, the entire meme was basically just a small loan of $1 million because the entire bit is Donald Trump said that his dad gave him a small loan of $1 million. And if you didn't know, the punchline is a billionaire saying that they were given $1 million is a small loan. That shows they're out of touch. You can laugh now. You can laugh. No, it's hilarious.
You know, I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. A small loan of $1 million. My father gave me a small loan.
Yeah, he actually said that. I mean, I can imagine that becoming a reality if he actually wins the election. I would not be surprised.
My father gave me a small loan of $1 million.
Well, you know, we needed to turn a profit on the drug.
Small loan of $1 million.
But yeah, I remember at the time, this was a joke I would just like hammer in constantly into every video, almost like trying to Millhouse it as a meme. I also remember as well, back in the commentary days when Leafy is Here was getting a lot of flack, he basically tried to start this like nice comment chain of people saying, nice shirt. Like, hey dude, you've got a nice shirt.
I know you guys need me. Don't worry, I'm here. Play that cancer music. Let's go. Hashtag nice shirt.
And then I stole the idea from him and came up with my own word, which was fat. The word was fat.
So after weeks of thoughts and ideas, I finally come up with a way to combat these toxic comments by handcrafting an even more deadlier breed of toxic comments. Introducing Code FAT. Fat. This is going to take YouTube by storm and probably get my channel banned for starting some kind of circle jerk. Whenever you see someone comment kill yourself, reply to them with fat. Nothing else, just fat. And the guy who commented kill yourself will look down upon his greasy body and the guilt will be so great, he'll just delete his entire YouTube channel.
Yeah, there was really no telltale signs, was there, guys? No, just have a look at the Dark Souls 3 playthrough. There were no warning signs there whatsoever. But again, when you made content back then, it was for money, obviously, but it was also out of enjoyment. I mean, I've been doing YouTube for nearly 10 years now, and it definitely has become more of a job as the days go on. I still enjoy this job. I would not replace it with anything in the world. But again, a lot of YouTubers don't like to tell you this because it basically is the equivalent of saying Santa doesn't exist, which he does, by the way. A lot of people that start off doing YouTube, they do it as a hobby, but then slowly over time, it does turn into a job. So you need to find ways to make that job enjoyable. I've already talked about this before. I do the main channel stuff. Sometimes it can be absolutely soul-crushing with all this editing and all this scripting and researching and collecting footage. But I know once that video's out, I will basically get the same hit of dopamine as someone doing Fent. I probably shouldn't say that. That's not a good... I mean, it probably is, though. I mean, it's basically Fent, but you're not getting any mental downsides to it or any damage to your body. That is, unless the video does 10 out of 10, then you get depressed straight afterwards. But I feel like now the game has changed a lot. I feel like a lot of people that get onto YouTube, they're not doing it as a hobby, they're doing it to make money. Now, again, I'm not being an elitist here. If you want to start a YouTube channel, which please do, because anyone that is watching this video, if any of you want to start a YouTube channel or you feel motivated by this video, do it, because there's a very slim chance, I'm not going to lie to you, it's basically the lottery at this point, but there is still yet a chance that you could become a huge and successful YouTuber one day. Now, obviously, monetizing content was different 10 years ago. It's a lot harder now, especially with the inclusion of AI slop. So the tale of where I came from with montage parodies, it's pretty bittersweet because it was something small and cherished in a niche subculture. I mean, honestly, the montage parody scene didn't appeal to the normal person because me growing up, I never felt like a normal person. I was always a nerd, and I still am very much a nerd. You know, I've had the conversation with so many different people, cab drivers, personal trainers, and they always ask, what do you do for a living? And then I say, I do YouTube. And it's like, oh, what kind of content do you make? And I just tell them straight up, I'm a nerd. I like video games. And then I do this garbage side channel where I just talk about like whatever Andy did a bad thing today just to make money to fund it. But it is weird that montage parodies was something so niche and small, and then it got mainstream exposure, and it was almost like the life cycle of a star. It got too big for its own good, and then it basically snuffed stuffed itself out. Something Outer Wilds. The sun explodes at the end. But I think even though that star, that fragment of the internet, is long dead, people don't forget about it. Your long-term memory is an incredibly powerful thing, and if a fictional TV show that I reviewed a couple years ago has any truth to it, apparently you withhold onto anything that you remember.
There's a theory of mnemonics that states that human minds retain all visual information ever seen in a lifetime. This means you do know the numbers.
But again, like I've mentioned, nostalgia is a very dangerous drug. Usually it is better to cling onto that memory of nostalgia, because if you go to revisit the content, you'll kind of realize, no, this sucks. There's a really good video that Jacksepticeye uploaded. I do like how open he's being recently. A lot of people have chalked it up as him basically just doom posting, but I think he's being just a lot more transparent with his thoughts and his feelings. One video he talked about, he basically said how people would say to him, I want the old Jack back. Why are you so different now? Your older videos were better. And he basically just said to people in the video, you grew up. Like, unfortunately, your brain, your perception of things is going to be different now than what it was 5-10 years ago. This is why I think in a grander scheme of things, we are absolutely obsessed with nostalgia, because it reminds us of a time where most of us were probably more happy than what we are right now. That's why you'll see a huge influx of indie games and artists that use PlayStation 1 style graphics, because a lot of people in the 90s grew up on a PlayStation 1, and people that didn't, you know, younger people, they look at that and think, damn, that's cool, that's really retro. Another good example I could make, which is pretty niche, TGF Bro. They were basically the biggest YouTube group in the West Midlands before they disbanded. They don't upload anymore, they upload on their separate channels, but they have a clothing brand called Childish, and the entire point of that clothing brand, which is a lot more expensive than this jumper, by the way, that you could buy on pyrocynical.store, and this beanie, but the entire point of Childish was because of nostalgia, because again, like the creators Jay and Rebel have said themselves, they enjoyed their childhood and the earlier days of YouTube a lot more than what they do now. I know this sounds like a really negative thing to talk about, that most YouTubers, they're like happy and full of like, you know, glee, and then they just become like bitter people, just like reminiscing about the past. I don't think that at all. I genuinely enjoy the position I'm in right now, and even though the situations and circumstances are completely different, I just feel absolutely blessed to still be here, to still be able to entertain people, and to still make videos. Okay, sure, I'm not doing spinning Dorito lens flare on the screen. Apologies for that. But at the same time, I have gone through multiple changes in content, and somehow I've still survived. I think what a lot of people do with nostalgia, they use it as a very dangerous drug. They use it to basically say that they had a better life now, and the current life that they have sucks. Like, things were better in the past, things are only going to get worse now. And I get it, most people that are going to watch this video, you're probably in your 20s, or maybe at least late teens. And a lot of you are probably going to be very confused in life, and you might think that the best days are behind you. That's not the case at all. If anything, you should use nostalgia as a reference that you had some good times, and that doesn't mean that there won't be more good times in the future. Jesus, I was talking about fucking MLG. I feel like I'm having like an impromptu therapy session here. I think another way that nostalgia is used as well, especially in marketing, is, you know, I talked about the PS1 graphics, but this is why there is a constant slew of remakes of older games. I'm not even going to list all the remakes and remasters that have came out, because there are way too many to go over. And the reason why remakes and remasters are so genius is because it gets the old heads that played the original game on it, and then funnily enough, it gets the new gens involved because they hear the old heads saying, oh, that game was so good when I played it, they don't make that anymore. Now with remakes and remasters, do they play on nostalgia? Honestly, I played through Silent Hill 2, the remake, and I loved it. Did I play the original, even though there's Let's Plays on it from like, you know, 15 years ago? No. Like, I'll be honest, I never actually played that game at all. I'd also like to point out, by the way, as much as I love Silent Hill and I autistically read into all the lore of the game, and there's this one really embarrassing scene where I was streaming and I got Eddie's name wrong, the fat guy, and I called him Benny. Is that Benny? Is that Benny? Is it Benny? What's his name again? Eddie. I'm Benny. This was really bad because the Silent Hill subreddit, they absolutely hate grifters. They instantly tried to character assassinate me, calling me a grifter, and then they, ironically, to spite me, tried to rename Silent Hill 2 to Quiet Mountain 2. So again, there will always be a market for nostalgia, whether appreciating older YouTube content, or older video games, or even films. So obviously, as all of you know, I came from montage parodies originally. There is one game that I played that came out back then, parodying montage parody culture, and now it got a sequel. This was a game called, hold on for this one, Game of the Year 420 Blaze It. This game was released around 10 years ago, but now, 10 years later, they've actually made a sequel, 420 Blaze It 2, or as the official Steam description is, 420 Blaze It 2, Game of the Year, Dank Dreams, and Goated Memes. Wow, 11. Like and subscribe. Poggers Edition. It really rolls off the tongue very well, and the best thing about it is you basically had to be in that era to understand half of those buzzwords.
Bad doing my thing, smoking weed, fuck everything, man, golf.
Now, one thing I want to teach you is how to make an MLG video, because there were many, many crucial steps. Please pay attention. Everything I'm going to say is incredibly important and will only be repeated once. Are you paying attention?
No.
Good. Slide 1, please. Doritos. Doritos would go with any single MLG video. It was the cornerstone of the content, but you couldn't just have any Doritos. Notice these Doritos. This is cool original Doritos. Scam, fake. Do not use those. You need the red bag of Doritos only. Chili Heat Wave or bust. Slide 2, please. You see this beverage? This is Mountain Dew. It is quintessential with Doritos. And please don't get it twisted. Montage Parodies did not steal Mountain Dew from the funny fat man that used to drink it over 10 years ago.
Let me smell your breath. Oh, you Mountain Dew drinking bitch.
Now, I would show this bottle over here, but it will completely disappear because it's green, just like the green screen I'm using. But this bottle means everything to me. I grew up with it, and despite me using it in so much content, I have never actually tried it once in my life. I was going to in this video, but 33 grams of sugar. I think I'm good, thank you very much. Slide 3, please. This is the pinnacle of comedy, the air horn. You're obviously a child making montage parodies. You have no idea on comedic timing, so just add a random air horn for no reason. Here's one I bought off Amazon. It doesn't even look like the ones that were used in the video. Who presses an air pump to use it? It's kind of fun to use. It is actually kind of fun to use. It sounds nothing like the actual air horns that were used in the video. Slide 4, please. These were peak. They're known as the Deal With It glasses. Sometimes boomers actually still use this in a meme called Thug Life. If people you know are still unironically referencing these glasses, they probably only post on Facebook and might need to be sent to a retirement home. Maximum LMAOs can be achieved by just having a random character in the video and then the glasses slowly lowering onto their face. Sorry, the reason why I'm laughing is because, like, I remember when the MLG era was basically dying out, people were already ironically mocking it. And I remember this one GIF that was shared around on Discord a lot. You had this GIF of like Marge Simpson dancing around, and the glasses were so poorly the glasses were so poorly motion tracked. It was either made by a 5-year-old or it was ironic. Slide 5, please. Here we have reaction gameplay. Now, this was incredibly popular because obviously when you watched an MLG video, you wanted to go deaf from tinnitus as quickly as possible. You could have gone to a concert, or you could have just watched any montage parody with your headphones on. Reaction gameplay was always incredibly important because it would really oversell that, oh my god, something epic just happened. Now, there have been many famous examples of this, like Mom, Get the Picture Taker.
No, get the camera!
But usually what I would do was look up the YouTuber Anoj, who would actually do a multitude of different reaction gameplay from Call of Duty. I'd basically just steal a bunch of them and then use them in my videos. And for the final slide, we have Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg was used in a lot of montage parodies and also the funny 420 drug he used to take as well. I'm actually not really sure why everyone obsessed over Snoop Dogg so much. I guess it was just dude, weed, Lamau. Another example I'd like to talk about is the Illuminati. That was heavily associated with all montage parodies. It was basically the funniest thing in the world since Big Chungus. All you would have to do is get a triangle, put it over someone's face or on top of something, and then just say, Illuminati confirmed. I swear, like, I do not like current meme culture, but we had 5 jokes, bro. We had maybe 6 jokes at best. Another great example of the MLG scene were hit markers, because again, montage parodies were originally associated with Call of Duty. They were montages, and then that spawned into montage parodies mocking the actual montages from Call of Duty. And that's why hit markers were used so much. I'll be honest, one of the things that still makes me laugh today unironically is when a hit marker is added into a video and there is no sound effect whatsoever, like they missed the entire point of the joke. I do like how my humor has shifted over the years from actual humor to straight up anti-humor. Oh my god, you know what? When I was recording this video, MLG Teletubbies just came into my recommended. I gotta watch this. Classic. Absolutely classic video. I was 17 when I made this. Weed farm. No, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen. Dude, I feel like I've just taken like 20 Benadryls. Like what was that?
All up in the sky, and then he fucking shit right straight in my eye.
Now, there is another era of YouTube I do want to talk about. Obviously, I've talked in great detail about the MLG scene, the montage parody scene. But the thing is, it actually had one of the shortest shelf lives in YouTube. So what happened after that? Well, I do want to say the montage parody scene didn't die out straight away. There was, you know, it did last like a couple of years, which is, again, a lot shorter for how trends would last back then. I mean, a good example is Fortnite, right? Like Fortnite YouTubers would get millions and millions of views. And now they kind of don't, and it's a little bit awkward.
It's the only way I'll ever be free.
But one thing I do like to talk about during the era of montage parodies is how you had a lot of ironic creators. Get this. This is like 3 layers of irony, right? You've got montages, right? Montages of you getting like a trick shot or a headshot. Then you got montage parodies mocking them. But then you had these weird montages that were so soaked in irony from day one that even to watch them on this day, they are still hilarious. A really good example here is a channel that I absolutely love, and I've definitely stolen half of their humor, and that is Blazing Scrubs. That was ran by a British guy called Podel and a Norwegian guy called Sindre. And they basically made these montage parodies that were almost like so purposefully bad that they still are hilarious to this day. There's this video they made like 9 years ago, which was only a year after MLG Teletubbies that I made, and it was like a Breaking Bad parody, and I'm pretty sure this sent me down the entire Breaking Bad rabbit hole. Okay. Just the overlays as well. This is still funny. 9 years later, this is still funny. Now, one thing you'll notice there about that video compared to MLG Teletubbies is it's actually watchable and not just complete garbage content. I actually remember during the MLG phase, there was almost a bit of an arms race of everyone trying to get the best plugins and the best editing software they could. You know, people would still be using Sony Vegas, which is a very archaic software that, I mean, even I still use sometimes. I think another weird thing about the whole montage parody scene as well is there are still a fair few YouTubers that made montage parody content, and they're still around today. Some good examples are Memulous and Dolan Dark. Although I don't like to talk about the latter because he's basically ripped off my entire Pyro Live channel, and he just has a very annoying voice.
Welcome back to Slop Live. You may have seen my video last week about the 13-year-old.
Welcome back to Slop Live. I'm just gonna play Fall Guys all day, bro. It takes me 20 seconds to record video, but then 4 hours to get win on Fall Guys.
Now, unfortunately, as the MLG scene was slowly coming to a close, and that was for a lot of reasons. Good example is YouTube changed a lot to the point where videos like that weren't sustainable. It was one of the reasons why animation channels on YouTube got shafted, because YouTube has always been looking at you making videos as long as possible. That's probably why you've noticed me and every other commentary Andy stretch their videos from 8 minutes to around 20 minutes all the way to an hour. I mean, a great example is you might see channels that upload only once a week or once a month, and the videos are around 50 minutes in length, as opposed to YouTubers that upload every day, but their videos are only probably around 8 to 10 minutes. And obviously MLG videos had the problem of being very short. The longest ones probably went no longer than about 5 minutes, and back then in YouTube you had to make a video 10 minutes to put any kind of mid-rolls in and make any sustainable income. Obviously they lowered it to 8 minutes now, but back then, 10 minutes, it was hard. We had to speak for an extra 2 minutes on camera. There were also other circumstances as well, like, for example, the entire... We're just going to call it the PewDiePie bridge incident. But before then, it was a beautiful time. We had such creations like Max Mofo hair cake. Dude. Ew, dude! Remember that? Remember hair cake? All the videos basically been taken off of YouTube. If you don't remember, actually, Cold Ones, Shadow Max, before then, basically spent most of their videos just throwing up on camera, which is kind of what they do now, but now they've got a 4K camera.
Scott! 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 Scott!
There's also been creators that have had a huge shift in their content, not enjoying or liking the previous work they've done. A good example is iDubbbz. He made the Content Cop series. Some of these videos getting tens of millions of views. It was a huge event in the YouTube space when he uploaded, but nowadays he doesn't like the content anymore. He wasn't happy with it, and he's basically unlisted or deleted most of the videos. I also have some incredibly embarrassing videos that I've uploaded in the past as well. Car sex being one of them, which the same 5 people will semi-sarcastically ask me to do a sequel on it. But obviously, we cannot talk about such masterpieces like car sex until we talk about what happened after MLG. So after the downfall of montage parodies, people kind of went their separate ways. Some people just fizzled out. They didn't really enjoy doing YouTube that much because of how much of a time commitment making these videos were. That sounds like a bit, by the way, but some of these people would spend like hundreds of hours editing a singular video using these amazing 3D effects, and the payout for a short video on YouTube was kind of ass. So a lot of them just ended up getting normal jobs in the industry as editors, and they're probably doing incredibly well. Now, I could have done that, but the problem is my montage parody videos were pretty much always subpar to everyone else's. I definitely was one of the biggest creators in the scene, but that was usually kind of latching onto trends with other creators. I think there are 2 main reasons personally why MLG died off. I think firstly, because it ran its course. It had a very short shelf life. You can really only make the same joke about Snoop Dogg, Weed Lamau, Dorito until people just get really sick of it and they move on. And then second of all, YouTube is a very different platform to what it was nearly 10 years ago. There are now much more content farms. People are looking to make and upload as much content as quickly as possible to make as much revenue, to get as many clicks as possible. And unfortunately, montage parody content, there's been such a huge span of time between when it originally came out and how it would perform today that no one would really understand it. The average like Zoomer, if you show them a montage parody, they just look at it and be like, what? Wait, Snoop Dogg's got weed? Why doesn't he have a Lost Mary vape pen, bro? What's wrong with that? And the problem is now, it's been the best part of 10 years since montage parodies were popular. So now, unfortunately, if you showed it to people, you know that meme they have of like, you know, showing a meme to a Victorian child and they would just deatomize because they would not be able to comprehend or wrap their brains around something so bizarre? That's the equivalent of showing the average Zoomer a montage parody.
You learn how to sit down. That's when
I want to see him.
No.
You want me to take out a gun and blow a fucking hole in your head right here?
If you're wondering, by the way, I did clear up all the mess on the table. It's all here. This is like 5 kilograms of Doritos. I don't know what that is in pounds. I don't use Fahrenheit. Now, MLG 420 Blaze It Game of the Year was created by Andy Sum, who not only created this absolute masterpiece of cinema, but also the co-creator behind incredibly popular games, like for example, Crossy Road, that game you always see in the arcade, that gives you about 7 tickets every time you win it.
Tickets.
Don't worry, if you get about 90,000, you might be able to get a PS5 controller. And not only that, but he's the developer and publisher of Hipster Whale. And even on top of that as well, he's a Forbes 30 Under 30 recipient. So it goes to show, if you dabbled in the montage parody scene, there's a small chance that you could actually still be popular. But to be clear, Andy is actually an executive producer of this game because it was developed under another studio, Normal Wholesome Games. Now, this guy clearly has a passion for games, whether it's to help a few critters across the street, Opera Frogger style. I'm sorry, I'll never make a joke like that again. That was fucking... Or creating one of the, as the cool kids would say back in 2016, dankest FPS games we've ever seen. I do want to say, Cruelty Squad was probably directly inspired by the original 420 Blaze It game. Don't tell the creator, Ville, that I said that, because he'll probably shoot me in the head.
From your perspective, because you designed the game, what would you say the Archon Grid level is?
You're cringe, bro.
And in a real time capsule moment, if you go onto the montage parody subreddit, you can actually see the original post that Andy made promoting the first version of the game and even begging PewDiePie to play it. Now, if you are wondering, yes, PewDiePie did actually end up playing it shortly after it dropped.
What the fuck is Coca-Cola doing here?
The holy trifecta was obviously fully completed when Markiplier, or as I like to call him, Milkiplier,
Is that Shrek? Hey, Shrek! I had a life-changing orgasmic experience. bastards!
and Jacksepticeye also both made videos on it.
Who is Illuminati?
And then eventually the sequel dropped, and unlike the original, you do actually have to pay for it, it being a staggering $11.
What did you buy with my credit card?
420 Blaze It 2, Game of the Year.
You did what?
I mean, I don't really think it's that bad, but personally, I'm a YouTuber, so financially, I'm incredibly out of touch. Now, this game is a true throwback to the original. You really feel like you went into a coma and time traveled backwards into 2016.
Hey, you're finally awake.
Now, there is one small problem with the game, one small criticism before I jump in. The game uses a ton of copyrighted music in the form of dubstep throughout the game. I was hoping the music would be custom made and not like officially licensed music. That doesn't seem to be the case because when I uploaded the video onto my YouTube channel, I got about 23 individual claims. And before any of the Redditors call me out, yes, I did check if there was a streamer mode. No, there isn't one.
Bitch, lasagna.
Now, when you first boot up the game, you're given the offer to leave the dark, grim reality of 2024 and transport yourself all the way back into the distant realm of 2014. You are taking the role of a Secret Service agent who basically needs to fight back against the Illuminati, the people that control everything. Now, no joke, I'm no conspiracy theorist, but the Illuminati truly do control everything. You go into a casino, you put it all on black, it rolls red. That was the Illuminati.
All on red.
Your funeral inmate.
Funk.
You hit your wife, you go to jail. That was the Illuminati. You're a YouTuber doing an ad read and you accidentally sneak in a clip of you talking shit about the brand and then they drop you forever. That was the Illuminati. Yeah, all I'm going to say, guys, if you ever work with Raycon, don't make a joke about Kim Kardashian. Don't do that. They literally have it in the sponsor brief that is something you should not do. So please don't do that. So the Illuminati, in typical Illuminati fashion, have basically stolen every single meme in the world and you need to get it back in the form of a Dreamlink headset that you put on.
Link start.
Now, the funny thing is, which a lot of people won't realize unless you're an old head, the original tutorial of this game is basically the entirety of the original game that came out 10 years ago. But obviously now that is only the tutorial and afterwards it expands into a, I don't know what you call this, bro. Like the MLG cinematic universe. I don't know. I will be honest. I'm so excited to play this. You have no idea.
Absolute cinema.
That's crazy. Look at the level of destruction, man. Like this is like putting Battlefield 3 to shame. Is that Lightning McQueen? Is that just light? Okay, it's dead now. It's really like Shrek. I feel they've renamed him because of copyright. There he is! Oh my god. They call him Shirk. Oh, now one thing you might notice going through the game, you'll see a lot of hilarious and famous memes. But one consistent thing about them is they've all been turned into triangles. Obviously, the lore reason behind this is the Illuminati hijacked all the memes. But the real reason behind this is because most of these memes have actually now been trademarked and are intellectual property. So if Andy were to release this game with said memes in their original form, he would probably be sued about 15 trillion times.
Did you know that you have rights?
The Illuminati says you don't.
Better call Saul.
I know, I get it. You want to see Kermit Sith Lord meme, but at the same time, it was either have him as a triangle or not have him at all. One thing that does surprise me though is there are Wojaks as well, like the Duma Wojak. That was definitely not a thing in 2014, by the way. Now, one thing I really like about the game as well is how most instances are just such dated memes. Like, for example, if you get like a headshot or something, it will show the most 2013 to 2016 meme slang. I mean, you got memes like Dat Boy, Stonks, Doge, the Ancient Alien Guys meme, classic meme there. But one thing I do like about this game that makes it stand apart, and it isn't just like, amalgamation of just a bunch of dead memes. It also tried to capture that early 2010s culture, like, for example, Vaporwave and C-Punk. There's an entire level where you're running through what looks like the inside of a VHS video. And there's actually a VHS item you can pick up, which you use to block bullets. I'm sure I could do some deep analysis here of like, he's hiding in the past to not confront the future. But look, I talked enough about games all in the head. All right, I'm taking a break on that one. There was also popular memes back then as well that are referenced that aren't just image macros, like for example the moon landing, rooms lacking any kind of texture, and also classic MLG, the rainbow angle color gradient. You've also got the Naruto running in Area 51. Oh, that's an old one. Oh. God, I feel old. Now, the game has a host of dozens of dated memes. I could go over every single one, but you should probably just go watch Know Your Meme for something like that.
Derp is an expression associated with stupidity, much like the earlier forms of duh and der.
But one thing the game does have is a beautiful array of firearms. Like, for example, you start off with a Glock, which is named in the game the Shitty Pistol. There's also assault rifles in the game, but then an actual assault rifle. Get it? Because people are salty in video games. Oh my god, no, don't teabag me, no. Oh my god, no, haha, no, that'd be so cringe, haha. Many a time I remember teabagging in Halo and also getting teabagged myself. But the funny thing is about the assault rifle, it's basically the same assault rifle. It fires slower, but every time you fire it, it comes out with a slur or swear word. Wait, the gun swears? Okay, wait. Okay, this is kind of cracked. You can also get a swordfish, which is a literal swordfish. There's also an AWP sniper rifle, which is used by many sweats in Dust 2 in Counter-Strike. You are a scumbag if you spawn killed me with that weapon, by the way. But it's actually renamed in the game to the AWP Uwu. There's also a boomer shooter gun, which basically turns your shotgun into this kind of like mini BFG and also pixelates the entire display as long as you have the weapon held. Oh, that's sick. Look at that. It's actually like Doom. Oh, I like this. Look at that animation as well. There's also a spoon knife hybrid, but it's also a gun as well. What? Most guns in the game have an alternate that you can unlock by doing various challenges. Like, for example, there's a bazooka in the game, but if you complete certain objectives, like killing a certain amount of people, avoiding a certain encounter, or finding a hidden stash, you can unlock the better variant, the Brapzooka. Finally, a game that gives me some appreciation. Now, I'll be honest, for a shitpost game, this has like an insane amount of detail added to it. I think the only real downside to the game is at one point you've got to LARP as someone
under 6 foot tall,
but at least you get to beat people up with a funny frying pan.
Ooh,
Yum.
piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy, piece of candy, piece of candy.
No, I got James Woods from Family Guy. Now, I will be honest, I played the game, I think, in like 1 to 2 whole sessions, and I think I've recently lost 20/20 vision, and I don't think I'll ever get it back. You will actually burn your retinas out from the overstimulation playing this game. There are so many things that appear on screen, there are so many sound effects, but again, as toxic as it is, it's really meant to capture what montage parodies were like back then. Just complete overstimulation. Dude, my eyes hurt, man. Now, as you progress through the game, there are some contacts. There's a gentleman you can talk to on the TV who gives you updates on your mission.
You may have noticed you've been redecorating with some Illuminati-inspired changes. Did I tell you the Dream Link is made by the Illuminati, and prolonged use of it will slowly brainwash you into becoming an Illuminati disciple? I didn't. The more you know. It will quickly brainwash.
Why is this text-to-speech like so iconic?
And you live alone and nobody loves you, so that shouldn't be a problem, should it?
All right, fair enough, mate. Appreciate that. But then if you check your phone, you can also speak to someone called Conspiracy Chloe. Now, this is someone who will always encourage you to eat cake. Like, you know the people that, like, smoke weed and their entire personality is like, dude, weed lamau? This is basically that person as a character in the game. And this is someone, like every messy breakup, will continuously break into your house and steal objects, starting off with something small at the microwave, maybe even to the fridge. Now, the entire point of the game is obviously to beat back at the Illuminati. And by doing that, you have to go through multiple layers in the game. Layer 1, you're dealing with mostly alien conspiracies. Layer 2, you're dealing with zombies, but not just any zombies. Consumerist zombies. Now, this is also where the game feels similar to other indie games, like, for example, Angerfoot, a game that you just kick doors down, go through apartments, gunning people down, trying to keep up combo multipliers, and not get one-tapped yourself. Only in this game, you pick up a poop ability, and then you start farting on enemies to death. I'm not saying anything. I'll let you pause the video and write your funny comment down below, all right? The laxative, what does that do? I don't want to hear a thing from chat right now. Now, one thing I did notice throughout the game, which really psyoped me, is there were a lot of toilets in the game. You sit on the toilet, you use the toilet, you can kick the toilets. Genuinely, I thought so many times throughout playing this game, I would encounter Skibbity Toilet. Don't, I swear to God, don't do it. I swear to God. I know what that is. Do not do it. But then I remembered, this game is set in 2014. There was no Skibbity Toilet then. There was only Half-Life 2 NPCs that then became Skibbity Toilet. Now, as you go through your morning commute, you know, you escape the prison and then reset your disk space. Oh, look how cute that is. This is so wholesome. you'll eventually be forced to earn money to buy Aniphon. And to do that, unfortunately, which would scare most people in 2014, you would have to stop being a brokey and get yourself a job. Now, this could be anything. I think originally you start off by selling hot dogs. Each person is paying $120 for their hot dogs. It is just that easy. And then you'll end up selling cars. You'll end up selling your own car, maybe someone else's car. And then it basically escalates to the point that you are robbing entire stores and even robbing the walls of the store to be resold. Wait, what? I'm taking the textures now. Okay. Okay. Eventually, after all that, you will proceed to the fourth and final layer of the game. On this layer, this is the most important point of progress because finally, you'll be able to release all the memes that the Illuminati stole. Now, you're greeted here by a couple of things. The Brapzuka, of course, finally. I salute you. Oh, the Fartzuka! Holy based! I don't want to use this weapon, man. I don't want to use this weapon on the premise that you guys will actually never let this go. You will never let me live it down. And then also something very important, pondering your orb, which I don't actually think was a meme in 2014. I'm not actually sure. I swear that was like a 2018 meme. Proceeding past that, you go to the official Illuminati HQ. That's the Star Wars. It's the trap. That's the blue man that runs. That's the Owen Wilson car. Batman. Oh my God. Wow. We're really pulling out the big guns here. Oh, God. And of course, the Illuminati have been making their own random meme generators to try to capitalize on the hype. Some of these memes are, they're pretty bad, honestly. It is just random. It'll be a randomly generated image and top text, bottom text. And some of the captions are actually that awful. They retroactively become funny. Meme generator. Okay, let's see. Skill issue. Monkey reaction noob. Okay, that one's based. I'm pushing 30 and I'm playing this game, by the way. Why did my life go so wrong? Now, one thing that is important about memes, they are incredibly subjective, right? You know, one meme you might be able to find funny, someone else will find to be the most unfunniest piece of media since Big Chungus.
Oh, you'll never change.
But they even use a power scale here to measure the amount of memes. And of course, if you zoom in, it says over 9,000. That is before. That's early 2000s. What are they going to do next? Throw in an all your base are belong to us meme? What was the other one as well? Someone set us up the bomb. But unfortunately, there is a revelation near the game. You have been played by the guy that sounds like the text-to-speech donor that I have on my stream that you can pay $10 for.
137,239
What the hell was that? Unfortunately, the dream link that you put on your head at the beginning of the game was actually used to force you to convert into the Illuminati. But apparently, all the you know, the smoke, the marijuana, all that you've been smoking has basically made you so stupid that the dream link can't even penetrate your brain and convert you. And ironically, weed copers will use this as some kind of excuse to say that weed is better.
Let me tell you my story and maybe you and I will see eye to eye. When I was very young, a mere babe about 2 years old, I was stung by a bee, a giant beast of yellow and brown, reminiscent of pee and poo.
Okay.
There is more vital information to share.
He's got a sign on his back saying kick me.
I think I ascended to Mars, but I'm not sure.
He is spitting. I can't kick him. He's spitting.
Initial results
is this intentional? Is this intentional? This pathfinding?
But it seems you are more baked than I am, and that has been your greatest psychic defense.
I think the pathfinding is a bit broken. I think the pathfinding is a bit broken.
The word I won't space out at the end.
Except now, unfortunately, Dave is the size of the Twin Towers, so you need to lock in. M8. Okay, I gotta be careful. I gotta lock in. He'll then shrink down to a mouse where he's even harder to hit, but once you get him a couple of times, he will inevitably die. All that being said, this is a perfect opportunity to teabag him while he's down. Yep, there you go. That's what you get. Do a bit of that, bit of disrespect. But that is not the end of it. So once you eat your USB stick, you're then forced to enter Le Meme Frame. Oh, wow. Talk about an old meme. The Adult Swim bit, Tim and Eric brain implosion. Oh, just that word. Ooh. Le Meme Frame. Oh, that's how I'd actually speak 10 years ago. Oh, Le memes. I love Le memes. So if you go inside the meme frame, you'll notice a lot of it is green. More than this green screen that probably hasn't worked half the time because my lighting is atrocious. On top of that, you're practically speedrunning through all the previous layers. I know it is one of those games that makes you do like a rush of previous levels. I get it. It's not great, but we're near the end now, okay? And each one only cameos for a couple of seconds. I think one thing I like about this section is with the prior knowledge that you've had from previous levels, levels, you are beating these levels and making progress as fast as a montage parody. And then after loads of progress, you finally make it. You see that bong at the other side of the map? That's where all the trapped memes are the Illuminati have taken. The only problem is now you've got one boss battle between you and your employer Dave that joined the Illuminati. Now, I will be honest, as you're about to see now, I got fucking rolled by this boss, and I was into like an 8-hour stream. I don't know how these people like Asmongold and Pirate Software, I don't know how they do these like 12, 20-hour streams. It's definitely some kind of like dedicated autism, because I was just on fumes at this point. I was exhausted. And I'll be honest, even though I had an overpowered sniper rifle, this part of the game was really hard, and you can see that I am genuinely getting frustrated here. Oh, this is solid. This is really hard. Oh my good heavens! Oh god. No, bro! Dude, there's no health. There's nothing. This is hard as fuck, man. There is no chance in hell I can beat this, bro. There's no health. There's no health anywhere. I can't do shit. I can't do anything, bro. He's pushed. Yeah, I can't do anything. But never fear. After perseverance and progress, your journey finally comes to an end. You fire the cannon, break off the padlock, and see all the memes floating up into the, I don't know, the meme sphere. Also, by the way, they're all blurred because, like, again, I get it. You freed the memes. We still can't show them because if they were shown, the guy that made the game, he'd be sued. Now, after that conclusion, the only thing I can say is get wrecked, mate. It's truly time to blaze it up, because now, inside your home base, you have your own meme generator. Soon, Doge a Lamau. That's hilarious. Lamau stocks go up, your mom. Okay, that one is that is hilarious. Everyday bread. Now, this is a game that does rely on old school brain rot, but I'll be honest, like, if you don't even know that whole kind of meme culture, it's still a pretty competent first-person shooter. It's not going to beat out Warzone any day. Okay, no one made that comparison. Shut up. That's the same straw man as when a YouTube reviewer says, it's not the best thing in the world, but it's not the worst either. Shut up.
It's not going to revolutionize the RPG genre, but the impact this thing is going to have is going to be felt far and wide.
And I actually enjoy the game as well, because it does have some semblance of replay value. Again, you can go through previous levels, and then you can complete the side objectives to get better weapons. Am I going to do that? No. I spent too long making this video. I don't care. I do think there is something very nostalgic about this game, though, because the game gets more complex as you go on, like most games, but you are basically reminiscing, you know, simpler times, because internet culture back then, it was, for the most part, very basic. And most of you watching this, if you remember that time, you probably had a much smaller brain then, so you perceive things to be a lot more simple. I'm not calling you stupid, by the way. Please don't think that. I mean, this game definitely reminds me of an older time. It was a trip through memory lane, and it is a far cry from the current gen alpha who basically have an iPhone tied to their umbilical cord. Now, I will be honest, I don't want to say that like that time was like all sunshine and rainbows. It really wasn't. There was some bad stuff then. There was my early commentary videos. Are you gay? And then there was also BuzzFeed quizzes. But one thing that's certain about this game, it has the potential for lots of gamer shots.
Boom, dickhead. That's what I call a fucking gamer shot.
So in conclusion to the game and the video in general, I think nostalgia is a very powerful drug, but sometimes it can be so overpowering that you look back at everything in the past with rose-tinted glasses, and it probably wasn't actually as good as you remember. I personally don't think we'll ever escape brain rot, and I think that era of the internet is definitely here to stay. So again, you might as well make fun of it with your friends, and maybe, just maybe, you might be able to transform it into something truly beautiful. Like, for example, this image I found that I mentioned earlier in the video of Marge Simpson dancing with MLG sunglasses that are poorly motion tracked. It's a work. It's just so bad, man. I want to know who made that. I made that on my computer like 7 years. I don't know who made that image. Again, thank you to Game of Thrones Legends for sponsoring this video. Download the game using the link down in the description, or scan the QR code on screen to get yourself access to 50 gold, 3,000 food, and 1 summon token.